They're different amounts because I'm going to get ready to change gears a little bit here. Okay, I just need a moment to pull up a video here. Okay, we're going to see a test drop. I'm not. Technical difficulties, one moment. Let's see. For some reason it's not. Not allowing me to get down. Well, we'll have to do something different. It's time to improvise. I need a couple of people. Anybody ever play tug of war? Anybody been in a rigging class before? Yeah? Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about vector forces and horizontal lifelines. Come on, take a chance. A couple of you stand up. All right. I need about three more people, please. Okay, if you wouldn't mind just walking over there. We'll need 2 people on each end. There we go. Some good strong anchorage points. Okay. All right. So I'd like all 4 of you to stand shoulder to shoulder. So if you gentlemen wouldn't mind standing next to them, just go ahead and walk over there. Yep, with that in your hand. And everybody hold on to it. Okay, so I'm just going to lean back, see if you can hold my weight. Yeah, not too tough, right? Okay. Now let's go make a horizontal lifeline. So if you 2 stand over there, and we'll see what happens with the horizontal. Okay, so go ahead and make sure you're not going to hit anything. If you need, maybe we can move back this way. Okay, so now go ahead and pull it good and tight. Because I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lean back, see if you can just hold me up. Okay, so that didn't work too well, did it? With a horizontal system, you become a lot stronger all of a sudden. Forces are multiplied by, it can be up to 15 times the actual force that's on them. And thanks guys, you can sit down. Appreciate it. I'll give you a hand. Yeah, that's what happens when my video doesn't work. Have you guys be my live video. Yeah. Forces get a lot bigger. Pretty important when we're dealing with horizontal lifelines. And to deal with this problem, OSHA said pretty clearly that we don't want just anybody setting up or making horizontal lifelines. And the reason I bring this up is you deal with these all the time, and on bridges I know, perhaps on cranes as well, and some other situations. So it's a good idea to have a little understanding of these, how these work. And here's what OSHA says. Only you have to be under the supervision of a qualified person to set these things up. Otherwise it can't be done. So what we've done is we've come up with a system. It's called the Easy Line. And just have you hold on to this. And it allows you to go up to a span of 60 feet, anchorage point. Looks like a big fishing reel. They love it when I take this to the airport. And pull out the slack, and then you just crank it until it makes a cracking noise. There's a torque wrench in this handle, and it'll crack and let you know. It doesn't really crack, it just makes a noise. And it'll let you know that you're good to go. Now you can use this. The engineering's been done. You're under the supervision of a qualified person. It's our head engineer at Capital Safety. So now we can have people set up horizontal lifelines pretty quickly. The important thing is that they understand Again, going back to that image of the guy who falls off of a bridge and he's hanging in front of traffic. We got to understand how much clearance you're going to need below you. And something that closely ties in with clearance is going to be a span. Now, span is just simply the distance between two posts or two stanchions. And the shorter that distance, the less clearance you need. So more stanchions is good. But if you've got a long span, if you look at the chart, let's say we've got a 50-foot span, 50 feet. It's a little bit blurry, but and there's two people on there. They're going to need a fair amount of space, aren't they? They're going to need, let's see, what is that, 24 feet? Quite a bit of space below them. So important to read those instruction manuals for the horizontals and know how much clearance. I'm going to give it one more try at showing you this video just because it's pretty neat. Here we go. And we'll just fast forward it to the interesting part. So this is one of our outdoor drop test centers, and oh good, somebody's turning down the light. Thank you. Yeah, other one maybe. Hey, that works great. So you can see there's a big steel structure there, and we've got a couple stanchions here, and the span is about 60 feet. And this has a particular energy absorber on that we call a Zorbit, and it's an amazing energy absorber, but it's also very simple. It's stainless steel that rips. So if you've ever opened up a can or a tin of ham where you stick the little key in and kind of crank it around, it works on a very similar principle. So I'll play this, and I just want you to notice a couple things. One, how far down this is a worst case scenario, two people, how far down they end up at the end of the fall, and listen to the sound. It's kind of neat. Of that energy absorber, absorbing all that energy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So that's that Zorbit energy absorber pulling all the energy out. And you'll notice, a little tough to see, but this is representing two people, 620 pounds of weight, and it has two energy absorbing lanyards on it. And yeah, it's gone down probably a good 20 feet or so. Thanks. You can turn on the lights, please. Okay, so that sort of brings us towards the end of this section. We probably got about maybe another 10 minutes. But a rescue plan. That's the sort of the end of your fall protection plan. What do you do when you've got somebody up in the air? How do you get them down? We need somebody to get us out of the bind that we've gotten ourselves into, like the puppy here stuck between the trees. What does OSHA have to say? Employers shall provide for prompt rescue. So we've got to get our people down quickly. Calling 911, good backup plan. Can't be your primary plan. It's a good backup though. And here's the reason why. We have to render first aid. We have to do it promptly. So now we've got about a 4-minute window because a suspended person needs first aid because of suspension trauma. So we need to get them down pretty promptly. Now I've had quite a few people in classes that have been suspended for fairly long periods of time, 20 minutes, 25. They said, yeah, it was real uncomfortable, but I got down and I was okay. If there's some way we can render them first aid, it could be even tying a knot, a loop in a rope, lowering it down to the person, and fixing the end of that rope onto something else, and tell them, hey, put your feet in that loop and hold on to the rope. Because as soon as they do that, they start using these muscles in their legs, and that's going to help reduce the symptoms of suspension trauma. It'll keep the blood flowing around in their body. Then it's like, okay, the clock stops and slows down. Now we can take our time a little bit more about getting that person down safely. But we got to be able to do it promptly. And it doesn't matter if it's general industry or construction. The wording is the same. We've got to provide prompt rescue. Now, there's a lot of different ways we can get somebody down. There's a couple school of thoughts for getting somebody down from heights. One is comes from the mountaineering industry and involves knives and knots. we're kind of against knives and knots at Capital Safety because things can go wrong pretty quickly. There's no reason to have to cut anything when you're in a rescue situation. This is an example of what can go wrong.
Come on, Goob.
Come on, babe. You got her.
Just cut it. Just cut it.
Come on now.
You better get that rope.
So that would have been pretty easy for that rescue scenario. It was a practice scenario. It was a dummy. Would have been pretty easy to keep that person safe. Put up one of these, and it wouldn't have turned out as it did. The person was injured, but did survive. What they were the problem was the mannequin was hanging from its lanyard. They didn't have a way to transfer the weight from that onto another device. And so what they did is they tied a rope on, and then they cut it, and waited for that weight to go on the other device, but they didn't have their hand on the rope to create the friction to lower down the mannequin. A good number of your rescues can be done without ropes, just aerial work platforms, but this is just a simple hauling system. If the person who fell was wearing fall protection equipment, they obviously got to the point where they attached their lanyard. You can attach this to the same point, whether it's a lanyard or an SRL. If the person's conscious, you lower this down, raise them up, and you lower this down, they hook it to their harness, you raise them up, tell them to unhook the lanyard, right, because that's what they're hanging from, and then you lower them back down. Now, if let's say I hook this, I tell somebody, okay, hook this onto yourself, and I raise it up, and they start trying to unhook the wrong one. What could happen? So now I've got their weight on this. Nothing's going to happen because they can't unhook it. They could open this, but they're not going to be able to lift their own selves up and undo it. So it's very safe. There's also poles that you can use to reach down, hook this into the person. You lift them up, you unhook it, you lower them safely down. It's a pretty simple process, but there's no need to cut. There's no need to tie knots, because when you're in a scenario where it's like, oh my gosh, I want to get my coworker down, I want to rescue them, you don't want to have to worry about, am I going to tie this knot correctly? All you have to do is be able to open up a carabiner, hook it up, hook that to the person, and safely lower them down. The thought process with rescue is, ideally we want a person to be able to rescue themselves. An example could be you're in a self-retracting lifeline, you fall only a few feet, maybe you bang up your shins a little bit, you climb back onto the structure, raise yourself up a little bit, disengages the retractable, so you fall in, you're hanging, you go up a little bit, and then you climb back down to safety. That's self-rescue. We really like those because it doesn't put anybody else to an exposure, anybody else at risk. Assisted self-rescue could be the example of lowering down a rope with a loop in it, or somebody using straps that are attached to the side of their harness to stand in. We call them suspension trauma straps. Could be putting up a ladder next to that person, having the person climb on the ladder, unhook. Of course, if the person is shooken up or injured, not a good option, right? Not a good option. Better then would probably be a mechanically aided, get an aerial work platform, could be a scissors lift, JLG, whatever it might be. Make sure you follow all your safety procedures at heights with that platform. Just because it's a rescue doesn't mean we can ignore those. Got to stick with our safe procedures. And a pickoff is where somebody is actually rappelling down to the victim, hooking into the victim's harness, and then you lower two people down. Why do you think we have that at the very last? A little more risk there, isn't there? A little bit more risk. A lot more, actually. And it's almost never necessary to do that anymore, because we can get people down without having to send somebody else down to that person, unless they're badly entangled in something and we need somebody else down there. That's about what I've got for you. I wanted to leave just a few minutes to see if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to bring up. I realize we're at the end of the day. I've been in seminars myself. I know you've been sitting through a lot. So, yes?
You don't have any overhead structures tied on? Like setting up a raft
Okay, so the question is, we don't have a sky hook. We don't have anything to tie off above us. There are alternatives. OSHA says that you can only have up to 6 feet of free fall, and if we have to tie on the walking working surfaces, we could have up to 12 feet of free fall. So there are solutions. It's called a Force 2 lanyard, and you can, iron workers will use them. We have a special anchorage connector that will slide along an I-beam, or there's other ways to connect at your feet. You just have to make sure you have enough clearance below you. But we do have an energy absorber that will work with that, and OSHA has addressed it in the letter of interpretation, where they will allow people to have a factor 2 fall. You have to prove that it's infeasible to use other forms of fall protection, but you can do it. Very good question. Yeah. Any other questions out there about anchorage, working in aerial work platforms, horizontal lifelines, energy absorbing lanyards, harness usage, rescue? Covered a lot of topics, didn't we? A lot. There's, you can see why we do this in 2 days. There's a lot of information to know about fall protection. Yes, sir?
In another part of my life, I do rescue work, and I've done some fix the mountain climber, and it's just barely switching, at least where I'm from.
Uh-huh.
From rescuers going from sit harness to full harness. And in your full harnesses, for something like that, would you put your safety line in the D-ring up top, and then do you have them where you would pitch for rappelling in front?
We've got...
Yes.
Okay, so the question is where would your safety backup be hooked up to for doing a rescue pickoff? First of all, we have a lot of ways that we can avoid having to do a pickoff. If it were totally necessary, we do have a harness that's a rescue harness that has a D-ring that's a little bit lower here in front and then a higher one, and of course you'll have the back as well. But for the rescuer, the fall protection is going to go on the back. So their secondary would go on their back, and their primary, the device that they would be lowered down with, would be hooked up, of course, to the front.
But that's the way I've done it. Like you say, the rescue side, we're just barely going to full harness, at least for us.
Very interesting.
So I have a full harness, and that's the way I've done it when it's used.
Yeah, and I'm sure you were here to see those video clips too, and to see that sudden stop in the front. It will cause damage to the neck. But you have the two different philosophies for rescue. Mountaineering tends to be a little bit different because weight is an issue. The weight of the equipment is an issue. Versus industrial, we have pre-engineered systems. Weight's not so much of an issue. We can do that. Interesting comment. Anybody else? Yes.
When you did the horizontal lifeline demonstration, you had the levers or the uprights were holding the feet like they were designed.
Oh yes, that's called a Securaspan. They're pre-engineered systems. They attach very quickly and easily to an I-beam. We have ones that will also connect to concrete. I think we've got 3 different ways of connecting those types of stanchions. So.
I think in my experience, a lot of times they don't tie off to something like that. They try to fab up something that's like.
Yes.
Use the system. Maybe they'll use the system, but the system limitations of the system.
Well, for the system, all they have to do is pick an anchorage point that is capable of supporting 5,000 pounds in this direction and in this direction. So if we're talking a stanchion. And it makes it a lot easier because without that, now you're looking at an anchorage point that might have to support more like, I've seen it up around 9,000 or 12,000 pounds. And if it's on a stanchion, you're going to have a moment, so it's raised up there and it works like a prying bar. And if it's 4 feet tall, multiply that by 4, and all of a sudden the forces just get out of control. Yeah. Lifespan of a harness and lanyard. Most people think it's 5 years. It depends on the manufacturer. We don't have a lifespan. And we have a technical bulletin that says as long as it passes a competent person's inspection and has not been impacted, you can continue to use it for as long as it passes inspection or has not been impacted. But other manufacturers will put a specific date on there, and if you've got a harness that's brand new, say from another manufacturer, and you're like, gosh, I really don't want to throw this away, call them. Call them up and say, look, I got this brand new harness, what can you do for me? Put it to them. Okay, well, thank you all very much.